And still no return date for two astronauts virtually stranded on the International Space Station. They say they're not worried that they won't be able to make it back. The astronauts,
in a startling twist that has sent shockwaves through the world of space exploration, find themselves stranded aboard the International Space Station, IS. Their return to Earth hanging in the balance due to alarming complications with Boeing Starliner spacecraft. As tensions rise, Elon Musk drops hints of a revelation that could escalate this already precarious situation into a full-blown crisis, leaving the fate of the astronauts and the reputation of a storied aerospace giant uncertain. How did we arrive at this alarming crossroads, and what implications does it hold for the future of human spaceflight? Once celebrated as a hallmark of American ingenuity, the Boeing Starliner now teeters on the brink of failure, casting a long shadow over the ambitious plan for commercial space travel. In this deep dive into the unfolding drama, we will not only explore the technical missteps that have led to the astronauts' plight, but also unravel the broader ramifications for NASA, Boeing, and the entire landscape of space exploration. As we peel back the layers of this complex narrative, we pose critical questions. What lies ahead for the stranded astronauts? Will their ordeal become a catalyst for change in safety protocols and engineering practices? And what hidden truths will emerge from this ongoing saga that could redefine our understanding of space travel itself? The clock is ticking, and the stakes have never been higher. How SpaceX grew popular while Boeing Starliner fell out of favor. When Elon Musk tweeted in August 2024 that established aerospace companies might not have a monopoly on space travel, it appeared to cast a pall over Boeing's reputation. His remarks were not meaningless small talk. Rather, they followed a chain reaction that demonstrated how far SpaceX had come and how much more difficult things have remained for Boeing. The Commercial Crew Program, which NASA launched a decade ago with the goal of decreasing dependence on Russian spacecraft for astronaut transfer to the International Space Station, planted the seeds of this rivalry. Despite SpaceX's $2.6 billion bid, the massive $4.2 billion contract went to Boeing, thanks to its ambitious Starliner aspirations. While SpaceX's Crew Dragon rocketed to success, having launched a number of crewed missions since 2020, Boeing's Starliner was a complete bust. The Starliner, which was supposed to be ready to transport astronauts by 2017, has encountered numerous obstacles, including software problems and mechanical breakdowns, resulting in an astonishing halt to development. The choice by NASA to use SpaceX's Crew Dragon to retrieve Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore from their stranded mission highlighted how the space race is changing. A voice for those who wanted commercial space travel emerged in Musk's criticisms of Boeing as the company faltered. He stressed that Russian spacecraft might have been called upon to save the astronauts if SpaceX hadn't been there, which would have hampered American space aspirations. According to Musk, Boeing's demise should serve as a lesson to businesses who choose to sit on their laurels instead of embracing change and innovation in the face of fierce competition. What does the rivalry between SpaceX and Boeing say about the space industry's evolving dynamics? The Commercial Crew Program at NASA, a quick overview. In 2010, NASA launched the Commercial Crew Program with the intention of reviving the United States human spaceflight capability through collaboration with private aerospace businesses. After the space shuttle retired, NASA wanted to wean astronauts off of Russian Soyuz spacecraft that transported them to the International Space Station. The government's goal in going with Boeing and SpaceX for contracts was to encourage private sector innovation and competition. Equipped with a reusable crew capsule that could accommodate a maximum of 7 astronauts, Boeing's Starliner was conceived as an innovative means of transporting these space travelers. However, its development time frame slid far out of whack. Many setbacks occurred after initial predictions put the Starliner's operational debut in 2017 in jeopardy. In contrast, SpaceX successfully completed a crewed trip as early as 2020, which brought even more attention to Boeing's problems. The rivalry was fierce and the stakes were high because NASA had refocused its efforts on human spaceflight. While SpaceX reveled in its achievements, Boeing was under growing public and NASA scrutiny, leading to doubts about the company's capacity. At that point, attention turned to SpaceX's Crew Dragon, which became the go-to choice for crewed flights. Discussions on the mission's feasibility arose when Boeing dealt with failures that threatened the future of its Starliner program. Is the future of human spaceflight in danger because NASA is too dependent on Boeing? Challenges faced by Boeing's Starliner in terms of technology. Numerous technical problems have plagued Boeing's Starliner project, and they appear to be getting worse with each new attempt at improvement. There were major problems, including software errors and engineering shortcomings, with the Starliner development from the beginning. A key timing issue had a significant impact on the mission of the spacecraft during its first unmanned test flight in December 2019. Fuel mismanagement and an unsuccessful attempt to dock with the International Space Station occurred because the Starliner's internal clock failed, mistakenly indicating that the spacecraft was ahead of schedule in its mission. Boeing had to rethink its strategy after this disaster. A comprehensive investigation was requested by NASA, and it revealed numerous faults that needed fixing before the Starliner could try to launch again. Because of the investigation's revelations about Boeing's culture of complacency, NASA stepped up its monitoring and demanded responsibility. Boeing's problems persisted beyond that point. Engineers found rust in the propulsion system as the business prepared for more test flights. This meant significant repairs, which further pushed back their deadline. Not only did the Starliner's operational readiness suffer due to the recurrent technical issues, but the spacecraft's overall safety was also called into question. As Boeing readied the Starliner for a crewed flight in 2024, the dangers of the flight path became more apparent. Can Boeing win back NASA's confidence despite the technical difficulties? What would happen if astronauts got stuck on the International Space Station? The current situation with astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore stuck on the International Space Station is casting doubt on the dependability and safety of space travel. They exemplify the complex reality of human spaceflight and the challenges of maintaining a crew in a confined area over an extended period. Their situation is more than just an inconvenience. There are special mental and physical challenges that come with life on the International Space Station. Because of their strict schedules and lack of personal space, astronauts often find it tough to adjust to life in space. The small rooms are designed for shorter stays, but the lack of personal space can make it feel even more stressful. It's tough to be isolated at any time, but it gets much harder as the days and weeks go by without any contact with loved ones back on Earth. On top of that, this shows how crucial it is to have solid backup plans for space missions. The Starliner's vulnerability became clear when NASA decided to use SpaceX for a rescue mission. Future missions might face similar issues to the one that occurred when the spacecraft meant to bring the astronauts back home didn't do so. With so much at stake, can we really rely on just one spacecraft design? The astronauts' experience shows that space travel is still full of danger and mystery, even though the industry has made a lot of progress. The complexities of human spaceflight require continuous awareness and adaptability to ensure the safety and well-being of space travelers. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? What does this mean for Boeing and the aerospace sector? As well as the immediate concerns about the stranded astronauts, the knock-on effects of Boeing's Starliner problems are going to be felt far and wide. The company has lost a lot of public, investor, and regulatory trust, and its image has suffered as a result. Boeing is currently under investigation, which could change its reputation in the commercial space industry. Investors' faith in Boeing started to erode as word of the delays and technical difficulties spread. Before it became a symbol of failure and incompetence, the Starliner project was seen as an important part of the United States' human spaceflight program. Media coverage of Boeing quickly became more skeptical, questioning the company's ability to thrive in the face of intense competition. This is also going to have a big impact on NASA. It's a tricky situation for NASA. They've got to make sure their astronauts are safe, while also dealing with the fallout from Boeing's problems. They rely on their relationships with private companies to get the job done. The astronauts' return via SpaceX is just another example of how NASA's partnership with Boeing is changing. It's clear that the future of human spaceflight will be shaped by the battle between SpaceX and Boeing. As the space industry changes, it's important to be innovative and adaptable in a fast-moving environment, as the difference between the two firms shows. Given this setback, how can Boeing recover, and what are the prospects for its space projects going forward? The impact of strict regulation. As a result of Boeing's Starliner problems, the spacecraft's safety and dependability have come under closer examination from regulators. Missions must follow strict safety criteria overseen by NASA, the principal regulator for commercial spaceflight. Boeing is facing increased scrutiny and calls for more openness, as the agency's faith in the company declines. After the Starliner's technical problems, NASA began reviewing Boeing's procedures and policies in great detail. The managerial style, engineering choices, and quality control procedures of the organization are all under investigation. Potentially far-reaching consequences for Boeing's operational framework are emerging from the probe. To avoid similar incidents in the future, regulatory agencies are requiring strict evaluations and accountability. This investigation will have far-reaching consequences for the commercial space industry as a whole, not just for Boeing. Competition in the space industry will be forced to adapt to the new regulatory environment brought about by Boeing's blunders. Stricter safety and performance standards may result from the heightened supervision, affecting the trajectory of commercial spaceflight in the long run. The sector will need to make changes to meet the increasingly stringent regulations set by NASA and other agencies. Some businesses may be deterred from space exploration because of the difficulties brought on by regulatory oversight, while others may rise to the challenge and use innovation to meet the new criteria. Will the commercial space industry benefit or suffer as a result of increased regulatory scrutiny? Media influence and public viewing. How the media has covered Boeing's Starliner problems has had a big impact on how the public views the company and its spacecraft. The media kept on focusing on Boeing's disasters and technological blunders as the stranded astronauts' plight spread. A company that was once held in high regard is now facing an image of a struggling corporation trying to recover in a cutthroat market. How the public sees things is a big deal in space exploration. What the media says about companies like Boeing can make a big difference in how people think. When the media is full of stories about problems and delays, people start to lose trust in Boeing. As the company tries to win back customers and investors, it needs to share good news. Additionally, public opinion has a greater impact when shared on social media. People are voicing their thoughts and feelings over Boeing's performance on platforms like Reddit and Twitter. While social media allows for instantaneous information sharing, it also opens the door to conjecture and misinformation. In an industry where public trust is crucial, the discourse surrounding Boeing's issues serves as a timely reminder of the importance of transparency and accountability. How Boeing handles the intense scrutiny from the media will ultimately dictate its capacity to restore public trust. To ensure that stakeholders understand the intricacies of space exploration and the company's dedication to innovation and safety, it must find ways to communicate both its successes and its setbacks. What strategies will Boeing employ to control how the public views it and restore faith after its setbacks? The space industry's dependence on private companies. The growing role of private enterprises in space exploration has changed the sector, altered the dynamics of spaceflight, and pushed boundaries. Not only has SpaceX become a dominant player, but it has also raised the bar for reliability and safety in spacecraft launches and maintenance. Traditional aerospace behemoths like Boeing have been forced to reevaluate their strategies and capabilities due to the increased competition that has resulted from this change. Innovation and a daring attitude have propelled private enterprises to bring new ideas to the industry. Thanks to revolutionary technological developments made possible by this new entrepreneurial surge, space travel is now more affordable than ever before. Businesses like Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, and SpaceX are emerging because people are starting to think that space isn't only for governments anymore. It's a vast, uncharted territory waiting to be discovered. Now that these commercial companies are involved, NASA can work with them more closely, which frees up resources for lofty missions like Mars exploration and sending people back to the moon. A prime example of how public-private collaborations may improve safety and speed up development is the Commercial Crew Program, which awarded contracts to SpaceX and Boeing to build crewed spacecraft. Private enterprises are always innovating as they compete to outdo one another. Launch costs have been drastically cut by SpaceX's reusable Falcon 9 rocket system, while suborbital space tourism has been proven feasible by Blue Origin's New Shepard. The industry as a whole has benefited from the technological arms race that this competition has sparked, and future space travel will be much easier as a result. But this model's long-term viability is called into question by the increasing power of private enterprises. Is the innovative spirit of these enterprises going to be stifled by the demands of profitability and shareholder expectations as the industry grows in the upcoming era of space exploration? Striking a balance between profit and development will play a pivotal role. What role will public-private partnerships play in shaping space travel's trajectory in the years to come? Humans in space travel, an essential part. An often overlooked human element of space travel is at the center of the Boeing Starliner tale, which focuses on the technological and engineering aspects. Astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore's stories are powerful reminders that real people are overcoming obstacles and making sacrifices for every trip. The mission to explore and discover the cosmos is a vocation for astronauts, not just a job. Both Williams and Wilmore have devoted their lives to becoming astronauts, enduring the strenuous physical training that is a prerequisite for the job. They personify the inquisitive human spirit that drives space exploration with their dedication to research and exploration. But we can't ignore the mental and emotional toll of being stuck on the ISS for so long. Even the most seasoned astronauts might feel the psychological effects of space travel's isolation and confinement. Feelings of worry and anxiety can arise from not having direct contact with loved ones and from performing under pressure in a high-stakes situation. The stories surrounding Williams and Wilmore draw attention to the personal sacrifices made by space explorers. As the world observes the scenario unfold, the importance of strong support networks for astronauts on missions and after they return to Earth is emphasized by their experiences. The mental health of astronauts is of the utmost importance in a field that is constantly seeking new frontiers for human discovery. In order to ensure the safety of astronauts on future flights, what steps may be taken? The space race revisited. At a time when investment and interest in the space business are on the rise, Boeing Starliner is encountering problems. Private corporations are now actively defining the future of space research, expanding the current space race outside the purview of government organizations. Boeing and other established aerospace businesses are feeling the heat from SpaceX's consistently high standards for crewed missions and satellite launches. There has never been a more essential time to innovate and adapt to a changing landscape. There's a lot of pressure to be quick and creative in this fast-paced atmosphere because of the increased rivalry for contracts and missions. There is a wide range of enterprises and startups involved in the space race today, each specializing in a different facet of space technology. The emergence of new companies has stimulated innovation and rekindled the public's fascination with space travel, opening up new avenues for business and scientific discovery. Having said that, there are obstacles in the competition. High entry barriers necessitating substantial capital and specialized knowledge are becoming increasingly common as new businesses crop up. If the space industry is going to keep growing, it's important that established companies and new players work together on exploration and technology. What impact will the current space race have on what comes next? What's in store for Boeing Starliner? It's not yet clear what the future holds for Boeing as it faces the challenges of the Starliner program in its bid to bounce back from the cutthroat world of space exploration. The company is at a crossroads. Will Boeing be able to bounce back from its technical difficulties and regain people's trust in its abilities? This is one of the most crucial issues that still needs to be resolved. Boeing needs to get to the bottom of the technical issues that kept the astronauts on the ISS for so long. If the Starliner is going to be ready for crewed trips in the future, engineers need to get to the bottom of the issues and find the root causes. If Boeing wants to win back NASA's and the public's trust, it needs to show that it's dedicated to transparency and accountability. On top of that, the commercial space travel industry is always changing, so Boeing needs to think about where it stands. Boeing needs to show it can provide a reliable alternative for people traveling to and from the International Space Station, while SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft continues to be successful. To stay competitive, Boeing needs to develop new tech and improve current systems. It's also important for the Starliner program to navigate regulatory scrutiny. Boeing will need to make adjustments to meet NASA's increasingly stringent safety standards without compromising the quality or safety of its spacecraft. To ensure its position in the coming age of space exploration, the corporation must rise to the occasion and meet the great expectations placed upon it. SpaceX's influence on the market. Despite Boeing's best efforts, the commercial space business is still dominated by SpaceX, which is establishing new benchmarks for dependability and performance. Other firms are reevaluating their strategy in response to the intense competition caused by SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, which has changed the human spaceflight landscape. When people think of innovation and fast development, they think of SpaceX. The organization has become an industry leader thanks to its capacity to complete numerous crewed missions in a short amount of time. Not only have Crew Dragon's trips been successful, but the company has also continuously pushed the boundaries of what is possible in space travel. In the wake of Boeing's challenges, the company must not only rectify its issues, but also strategically position itself to regain market share and credibility. The path forward requires a balance of rigorous safety standards, effective engineering practices, and the ability to adapt to the fast-evolving demands of the space industry. As the space race enters a new phase, the emphasis on collaboration, innovation, and regulatory compliance will be critical. Ultimately, the future of human spaceflight will hinge on how well both Boeing and its competitors can respond to these challenges and leverage opportunities in an increasingly competitive landscape.